2 days ago, I run this red light, and the minute I go past the red light, out of the side of my eye, I see a cop on a bike, and his lights are on quicker than I could than I could think one thought. Right? So I was like, oh shit, man. So he pulls me over, and he looks over at the front of the car. He sees that the NCT is out of date, and it's been out of date now for about, coming on nearly a year, because I've had this problem in my car with PDF light, and I cleaned the PDF filter out 2 weeks ago, trying to do a few things on the car myself, a good few things actually, and trying to change things and do things myself with the car, and I won't get into all that anyway. So he notices that, and I tell him that, oh look, I booked it in for the NCT. I'm doing a few things at the moment with the car myself, and I have this PDF light on at the moment. It's a bit of a pain in the arse. I've got to see this mechanic later on, and he's going to take the light off for me. He's going to put it through the computer and stuff like that, even though the filter's been cleaned out. Since then, I've actually found out that it's not the PDF filter, it was still a good idea to clean it out anyway, because it was probably needed to be done anyway. It actually is the pump for the additive. The additive pump for the fluid for the filter is broken. So I had to look onto eBay and try and work it out myself. How can I do it without it being really expensive, right? So yesterday I managed to find out which pump it was. Took the pump out first from underneath the car. It's like a 7 or 8 inch fluid holder, and it's got the pump connected with it, and that fluid puts the additive fluid into the PDF. It's like AdBlue, I think. Really, it's like a diesel AdBlue for a car. Anyway, not to get off track. So I'm talking to this cop. First off, I don't want to be talking to him as if I'm afraid of him or this is bothering me at all. I just accepted that I ran the red light, and okay, what can I do about it? I shouldn't have done it. It was my mistake. So I just started talking to him as I talk normally to anybody, and definitely not making an enemy out of this guy. And I've had my run-ins with the police before. I'm not happy with the police. I'm not happy with the policies. I'm not happy with, been put into prison a couple of years ago for nothing. I'm not happy about a lot of that kind of stuff. And I can see that the policies are written by criminals. But that's not to say that you talk to individual people with bad manners. And that is the point of this story, right? So I just talk to him as I talk to anybody else, not as if not like he's an authority, not like he's like above me or I'm above him. So I casually mentioned that, geez, you guys must have been dying the last few days, with the heat, with wearing all that bloody leather gear and all that kind of stuff, and the helmet and everything. You guys must have been bloody dying in there, no? And I can't see much of his face because he's got the helmet on, but I can see in that moment something on his face that this is unusual, that someone's going to think about me in this situation, right? Someone's going to be talking and thinking about, am I uncomfortable in the heat? Because the heat the last 3 or 4 days in Dublin was the hottest ever. They were so hot. I couldn't find shade anywhere when I was in the truck. I was trying to, when I was on my break, 15 minutes or 45 minutes or 50 minutes or whatever, where can I park where I can just get a little bit of shade? Because I'm not going to be able to sleep in this heat even, right? It was so hot. So he goes back to the car, back to his bike, and then I go back out after him. I didn't want to be sitting in the car like a victim, like, there's him out there and me in the car. So I get out of the car and I go out beside him on the bike, and I start talking to him on the bike. I show him the NCT, that it's booked on the phone. I show him, he's fine with that. He said, that's fine. And he gave me some good advice as well about, if your NCT is out, if you do have something on the phone, that would most of the time would be okay for the police, that you have it booked at least, So I listened to him when he's talking a good bit because he's a nice guy and he's coming across nice to me as well, right? So, and he talks to me about the red light and stuff like that he's seen me go through it and stuff. And I said, look, you're right. I didn't go through it on green. I went through it on red, and I seen it at the last minute, but it was too late for me really to stop, and I was distracted. So you're right about that. I went through the red light. And then I see another change in his face, a tiny bit, just a little bit of kind of like something where that's unusual for people to do that, to just say, yeah, I was wrong, right? Yeah, I was wrong. So we're talking a little bit, and I asked him, I said, look, will I get points for this or just a fine? And he said, well, they give points now to everything pretty much. Anything you do or we give you a ticket for, you get points for, right? So, and I think the minimum is even 3 points now for pretty much nearly anything, right? So he's scrolling up and down his phone. He's trying to look for something. So in that moment I kind of realized that maybe this guy doesn't really want to give me points. So I said, look, I drive a truck. I don't mind about getting the ticket, but I'd rather not get points if it's possible. If it's possible not to get points, that would be great if it's possible. But if not, that's fine too, right? So he's scrolling and he's looking, and we talk about some other things. I can't remember exactly, but we were just chatting a little bit. At one point I was leaning on the bike and we were just chatting to other people driving past. It may have seemed like we were just talking on the side of the road. There was no good or bad guy or authoritarian or someone who was not in authority, right? We were just talking on the side of the road. So towards the end of it, he just says, look, there's only one way I can give you no points, and that is that I don't give you the ticket, right? And I said, right, okay. And he said, look, I won't give you a ticket. I don't want to see you get points on your license if it's your livelihood and you're driving a truck. I'll just put it down that I give you a caution and that's it. Right? And so I just said to him, I said, listen, man, that's not, I didn't expect you to do that. I said, look, I really appreciate you doing that, because I did run the red light and it was my fault, and you did not have to do that. And I really, really appreciate you doing that for me. And that was basically the end of it, and then we talked about, he talked about, just just give the police, the police, no reason to bother you, and everything will, you're not going to have any trouble with anything like that. So don't run red lights, don't do things that are going to make you stand out and then you can't be bothered by us, right? So I understood what he was saying when he was saying that as well. So that's the story, man. That's the story, and that's very rare. It's very, very rare that will happen. That a cop, a guard, a policeman will pull you over for running a red light and not give it to you in the end because he didn't want to. So I thought I'd tell that story because there is some good police out there as well. Not that makes him good because he let me off with the ticket. Is that the story is that you should treat everyone, even if it's the police, as individuals and talk to them. You don't get anywhere with anyone if you make them an enemy straight away, regardless of what other police have done on you in the past or a judge or whatever. You have to talk to people with respect. There's different strokes for different folks at different times. I understand that, right? But if you get pulled over by the police, it's not going to do you any good to be arrogant or to be, just, closed off and things like that. So I was really surprised they didn't give me a ticket. Really surprised. And like I said, that's very rare that happens. So if you knew people that even knew me, they'd say like, if Shane gets pulled over by the cops, he's the last person that would get away with it without a ticket and without points on his license. But that's not the way I really want to operate with people, man. I don't, because first off, I always check myself first. Because that's the only thing I have any power over. I haven't got power over anyone else. I haven't got power over my daughter. I haven't got power over my job. I haven't got power over any girlfriend that I had in the past or whatever. I haven't got power over women. None of that. The only power I have is power over my decision and what I do and what discretion that I can have and all that good stuff. That's all I can do. And once I can check that and be in line with that first and accept what is, I can do what I need to do regardless of the outcome. So I was very surprised by that cop. I was very surprised with the outcome. And like I said, it's very rare that anyone will get away with anything to do with the police because it's their job to collect revenue. And that guy did not have to do that. There was a very strong reason for him not doing that. And I think it is because he was shown proper respect.